So Boog Knight, one of Shedeur Sanders' guys, he said, man, he had to jump in. And he said he had to expose Jason Lloyd for the lies that he's telling about Shedeur Sanders. And he straight unleashed on him. Now, you know, we talked about Jason Lloyd for all his lies about Shedeur Sanders, his latest rant about people are telling him on the inside that he doesn't know how to read defenses. He doesn't know how to study a playbook. He doesn't know how to watch film. And a lot of people have been going at Jason Lloyd. But Tyvis Powell, he stood up for Jason Lloyd. He said he had to take a bullet for Jason Lloyd. And a lot of people been going at Tyvis Powell. But Boog Knight came out and addressed the situation. You are now tuned into a brand new episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K-Sap. Well, today, man, we got to talk about it right after this.
Let me put you on game. These other podcasts out here talking that shit, but ain't repping the same. It's my bro K-Sap, chopping up topics for your optics. From politics to your top hits. Tune in, you gotta watch this. Exclusive material for your radio, stereo, bumping high definition. Stop what you doing and listen. We smashing all competition. You better jump on this wave. Somebody pass me a mic, man, I got something to say.
Well, guys, you know I got something to say. When is enough is enough. And Boog Knight, he said enough is enough. And he had to address all the foolishness that Jason Lloyd has said about Shedeur Sanders. And man, did he unleash, did he expose Jason Lloyd's lies for what he says? Now, guys, I don't know if y'all heard the little episode on the Ken Carman show and Jason Lloyd was on there. And a caller called in and was letting Jason Lloyd have it about him lying on Shedeur Sanders. And he was basically telling Jason Lloyd, you know, when people have credible sources, they don't mind giving up that source. But Jason Lloyd hasn't gave up the source. And the caller was like, you know, you're not going to say anything. You're not going to cite your source because you're lying about a lot of things. And Ken Carman said, are you going to answer the young man? And Jason Lloyd's response was, no. So he put Jason Lloyd in a pickle. And Jason Lloyd could not answer the caller's question. And Ken Carman was like, some of this stuff is just make believe. And then you got Shedeur Sanders guy, Boog Knight. He had to go on a whole diatribe. He had to go on a whole segment, a whole soliloquy about what Jason Lloyd is lying about on Shedeur Sanders. Guys, he exposed a lot of things that Jason Lloyd has said because of the fact that Jason Lloyd goes on the network to say these lies about Shedeur Sanders. And guys, I don't know if you saw, primetime Deion Sanders weighed in as well, took to his Twitter, X, and he said something about lies. So it's all in reference to Jason Lloyd. Also, if you saw what Shedeur Sanders post, believing the outside noise. But let's take a listen to what Boog Knight had to say about Jason Lloyd on how he exposed Jason Lloyd for all the lies that he's been telling about Shedeur Sanders. Guys, you might want to sit back, strap up, and take a listen to this because he went in. Let's take a listen.
Address this Jason Lloyd stuff with talking about Shedeur don't watch film. He don't know when he's hot. He can't read coverages, all this blah, 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 blah. And again, I'm not saying he didn't hear that. He may have heard that. But I'm going to tell you that it's not the truth. Regardless. And also I'm going to say that we got to have more common sense to understand when things are being said that aren't true. Regardless of whoever's trying to paint what narrative or whatever the reason they're doing it, I don't know, but clearly it's ill will behind it because it's not true. I be with Shedeur often, and he's always studying film. He can't even finish his food at night sometimes because he's watching and studying film. And you know, sometimes we up at 11, 12 at night watching film, but I don't put those, I record a lot of stuff, but I don't record it because we're in the comfort of his own home. And that's what you don't want cameras in his face when we just having family time and just vibing and talking about the game and what game plans and life or whatever. But he's always got his film in front of him and understanding what he's looking at and what he's reading. But to say that he don't understand how to read defense and all that crazy, man, that's pure foolery. So regardless of whoever put that narrative out there, that's when I say people have common sense is no longer common. When I say that to say this, you talking about a kid who threw for over 4,000 yards, a kid who has had a different offensive coordinator every year in college. So you mean to tell me he can't read defenses or understand what the defense trying to do to him, and he can go out there and throw for 4,000 yards? Well, I guess so. If he could read defense and watch film, then he would throw for 8,000. Then that's the case. Man, y'all crazy. I don't know what if you think this man can't read the defense, understand what the defense is trying to do to him, and he's out there gaming like that. And then somebody said, "Well, that was in college." Okay, go to the pro game. I honestly know that, and somebody on the internet, I know y'all good on this internet. You can find where he got on that podium and he told the reporters exactly what the defense was trying to do to him, what he seen, what he read, and how he was able to adapt and adjust and make the play that he needed to make. Shedeur's never had a problem with reading defenses, bro. Matter of fact, sometimes he's so great at it that there's been times where some plays have been called, and he seen what was going on, and he made an adjustment that led to 6 because he understands what's going on. You just don't magically get out there and just throw for 4,000 yards, bro, and 37 touchdowns, not understanding what the defense is trying to do to you and having a different offensive coordinator every year. You got to learn something different every year. Now, I will say this. Coming in, did he have certain rookie challenges like most rookies have? Especially rookie quarterbacks where the terminology is different from what he has been used to giving? Yeah, that's expected. The terminology is different, you know what I'm saying, from college to NFL. Gun just slang, 44 dove right, left team, gun slide, fire shot, and I'm long term. Yes, that's expected. So yeah, but to say that the man don't watch film or don't know how to study film or don't know how to read defenses, don't know when he's hot, man, you crazy as hell. So I guess if he learned how to learn when he's hot, he would have threw for 8,000 yards then, because he showed threw for over 4,000, not knowing when he's hot.
Now, guys, you heard what Boog had to say, man. And Boog Knight basically broke it down, man, to where you can understand that Jason Lloyd is full of shit. And Boog Knight just exposed everything that Jason Lloyd said about it. But what's really interesting part of this is Jason Lloyd is still living in this fictitious fantasy world where he's saying people on the inside are giving him this information. Now, a lot of people have went out there and said the only person that they can think about on the inside that would say this stuff is the big offensive line, Joe Paterno. They say he is like a snake in the grass and he's almost Kevin Stefanski's boy. And that's where a lot of people are saying that Jason Lloyd is getting this information from, because a lot of people have said that Joe Paterno was part of the sabotaging of Shedeur Sanders, because we've heard some things that the guy has said about Shedeur Sanders. So the only people on the inside that Jason Lloyd probably can get that information from is Joe Paterno. And the crazy thing about it is the way Boog Knight broke it down, said you got to be crazy. If he didn't know how to, read defenses, he passed for over 4,000 yards in college with a different offensive coordinator every year. And then he said, quote unquote, if he did know how to read defense, he'd probably be throwing for over 8,000 yards. So come on, guys, make it make sense, man. Jason Lloyd is just out there, spewing all this stuff about Shedeur Sanders, which is untrue. And a lot of people are coming to the forefront to expose Jason Lloyd and the Cleveland media for the lies. A lot of people are getting tired of it. This is the first time I really saw Coach Primetime Deion Sanders really put it out there. And I've always told people, Deion might not mention your name, but just pay attention to some of the stuff he tweet, because it's in reference to what this Jason Lloyd is doing, talking about the lies. That's all in reference to Jason Lloyd. And then Shedeur Sanders backs it up about the outside noise. You can't believe the outside noise. So they hear it out there, and they're exposing Jason Lloyd as well. And then the caller that was on the Ken Carman show early in the morning, Jason Lloyd got put in a pickle because he couldn't answer the question. And Ken Carman said, "You're not going to answer the guy?" And Jason Lloyd was like, "No." And then he was talking about, "I can give you 25 years of my track record." That don't mean nothing, Jason Lloyd, because you didn't answer the question. The guy he asked you a direct question and you wouldn't answer it. So that goes to show that you're lying. You're making stuff up. And Boog Knight just exposed everything about everything that you said, Jason Lloyd. I see everybody in the comments section, #salute. If you're not subscribed to the channel, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button, turn your post notifications on so you know every time Simply Ball drops another hot banger. Oh yeah, just in case I forgot. Tell a friend to tell a friend. It might not be for you, but it might be for them. And this is going to wrap up another episode of the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. I'm your host and the man behind the mic, K-Sap. Catch you on the next one. Deuces.
Thanks for listening to the Simply Ball Dropping Podcast. Be sure to subscribe, like, and share on all major platforms.
That's all, folks.